Hi everybody. I'm going to try to make a series of videos showing some of the different methods that I use for sharpening a knife. I'm going to start with this one here. It's desperately needing sharpened. If I was to put it on my steel here, and I don't know if you can see it in the light or not, but you can visibly see the edge of the knife. So we're going to go ahead, and what I want to do is, this is the easiest method, I believe, for somebody who isn't either successful or doesn't have a terrible lot of experience sharpening their knife. When I have somebody who is trying to learn, this is the method that I will show them. So you just lay your knife down at whatever your desired bevel is, and on this knife it's about like yay. And then you push it forward, starting at the tip. And then you're going to do that, we'll do it 10 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so this method is not the fastest. But what I'm looking for is I want to try to get it so I can feel there is an edge. It might be laid over to the one side, but it should be there. Then I'm going to do the same thing to one side that I do to the other. You always want to do that. Same thing to one side that you do to the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Still not there, so I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I can feel there's a burr along the edge. It's not terribly sharp, but I can feel that the burr is there. So what I need to do now is refine that burr. So on the first passes, I'm trying to remove enough metal to get the edge down to a point. Now that that's accomplished, I want to refine that edge. So I have done 10 on each side. Now I'm going to start at 5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not pushing very hard now either. 2. Okay. Each time you're going to feel that edge get a little finer. Now I'm going to go to 4. I'm also not pressing, each time I press a little bit lighter. 2, I'm going to do 4 again. 3. This time 2. This time I'm just going to go back and forth like that. Okay, now if my edge appears to be there, I'll put a steel on it here. So I can feel that there is a little bit of an edge there. It's just not a terribly refined edge at this point. But what I've done is I used the passes going only forward and starting at 10 and working your way down to get the edge. It gets you there pretty quickly, depending on the kind of stone you're using. Now I'm just going to refine that edge. So I'm going to go back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'll go to 8. Okay. I don't know if you can see in the light, but the very, very, very edge is no longer shining. If I look at it straight on, you don't see any shine. Now, you could at this point steel your knife and it would cut a little bit. Let me see if I can. And then I have here a strop. You don't have to use a strop, but a strop can be used. It shows if your edge is laid over, it'd be biting hard on one side or the other. Another thing a strop will do, if your edge isn't quite perfect, it's soft enough that it will help to straighten it out, even though you're not quite perfect to start with. Also, if you put a stropping compound on it, it has a tiny abrasive effect, so it can be used to really refine your edge. Usually though, you would be coming off of a finer grit stone than this to try to sharpen anything more off of the strop. But you can use it mainly because if your edge is laid over, you're going to feel it. It's not as smooth one way as it is the other. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper here. And even at this, and I haven't fully refined that edge, it will cut a little bit. I'm actually not having to use a great deal. If I try to turn, it gets hung up. So it's not super sharp, but it's a little bit sharp. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to strop it down. I'm going to stay on this same stone. I'm going to strop it down, and I'm going to start by doing it this way. I'm going to go 1, 2, and see how I'm going backwards with the blade now? 3, 4, 5, and I'm pressing very, very lightly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to go to 4 and pressing super light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to go to 2, 1, 2. Just going to go back and forth now a few times. And you'll hear your edge as you go along. It sounds smoother and smoother. That's just because it's getting more refined. I'll check it on here. See, smooth. Either way looks fine. And it should be a little bit sharper than it was before, just from doing the stone stropping. As you can see, it is actually noticeably sharper. I don't know if you can tell that on the video, but you definitely can when you're the one doing it. So that knife is sharp enough, it actually will cut a lot of things for you fairly effectively. So if I was just going to be using it to bone out a beef, some guys would use a knife that's no sharper than that. So the next thing I'm going to do now though is I'm going to take the same knife and I'm going to show you how, if you want to finish it more, you can. This is an 800 grit. I'm going to grab here this 2000 grit. These are both, by the way, Chaucera or Non-Iwa Pro stones. You can do it with other good brands of stone. It's not that important. The one thing I will say is these are fast, so it saves me time. So now I'm going to come here to the 2000 grit Non-Iwa Pro, and I'm going to just do this. 1, 2, I'm just refining it a little more. 3, 4, 5. I might have miscounted a little. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then I'm going to go to 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to drop it down. 1, 2, very light pressure. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Don't do that. 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going to do that again. 1, 2. Super light pressure. 1, 2, 1. I'm going to go back and forth like this a few times. Probably about 4 times. Spending too much time on a super fine stone isn't going to really gain you anything. If anything, it'll tend to make you, unless your form is perfect, you're going to round your edge. So when you're on your super fine stone, really concentrate on holding your bevel consistent. Now I'm going to go ahead and strop it down on the leather. I could put a stropping paste on here to get a super fine edge, but we're not going to bother with that. So you're probably used to this by now. It's 5/4, and I'm going to go ahead and go to 3. I'm going to go to 2 again. Back and forth a few times. The reason I count, you can do a good job of sharpening your knife without doing that, but it just keeps you consistent, especially, like I said, this is a beginner's method, and it'll help you at the start. So it's got some sharpness to it. I don't know if you can see anything, but it shaves easily enough. It would probably pull a little bit more than you'd want to shave with, but it's reasonably sharp. Anyway, it'll now, there we go. With very little force, very smooth, very clean cut. So there you go. That's kind of what I call the beginner method. It's the method I show whenever somebody's learning to sharpen a knife, or if they've had trouble getting their knife sharp. This is the easiest method. The reason I feel that way is any of the push-pull methods, you are required that you have muscle memory going both directions. This way you only have to have the muscle memory going one direction. I wanted to point out, I had mentioned this is a beginner's method. That doesn't, however, mean that you can't get your knife sharp using this method. Toilet paper is one of the hardest things to cut because it tears so easily. But even with, this is just how you saw me sharpen it. I just honed it. So if you just watch, it cuts right through. It's quite sharp. The only thing that makes this method a beginner method is it's easy to use.